Hi everyone, good afternoon and a warm welcome to T-Hub, world's largest innovation campus. Today, what we are trying to do is foster more stronger relationships between India and Australia. As part of that initiative, we have very good representation from both of the geographies so that we can give you examples, case studies of how we've been doing innovation bridge between India and Australia, how we want to take it forward. We want to establish deeper engagement between India and Australia. So in association with CII Telangana, we have the Trade Commissioner entire team here.
I think clearly both governments are determined to see how that 100 billion in the next 5 or 7 years gets done, right? In the context of this thing is about trade, commerce, industry, innovation, and entrepreneurship. But I think clearly the way forward for us is to see how two democratic, English-speaking countries can build a lasting relationship based on a win-win. And I think conversations like the one we are going to have today will go a long way in creating that exposure, visibility for both sides. I'm going to take the liberty of calling out one startup, Pratik here from Automaxis, who's built a very interesting solution for electronic bill lading. And he's very keen on trying to see how he can engage with Australia. I think CII has that ability to stitch the synergies, make the relations taking into next level. We have been doing so. In fact, we have a history of developing the CEO forum between Australia and India. Multiple times we have incoming missions and outgoing missions as well. We delivered very prudently and productively in the past as well. And why we are here also, the ECTA, Economic Cooperative Trade Agreement, one step before the final FTA. How India and Australia have got a lot of benefits together. Why Australia and India can benefit together? We do not have any overlap of businesses. Usually when you have FTAs, there will be a lot of competition because both the countries have commonalities in many products and services. Here, almost I can say 99.9% there is no overlap. While we import hugely from Australia, the raw materials, minerals, we export the consumer goods, capital goods and whatnot. There are huge opportunities. So untapped potential is there. It's all for us to enable them to get to them. And for doing this, I really applaud the efforts of the Australian government led by Honorable Minister Catherine Geller and all her team. In fact, as I understood from her, there will be more and more trade commissioners coming up.
Firstly, I would like to acknowledge where we are today, which is T-Hub. I have heard so much about this place, and I've got to say, I have not been disappointed. It's absolutely amazing. And the opportunity for us to work with you into the future is just very, very exciting. And of course, CII, who, as you've said, have worked with Australia and on CEO forums and all sorts of things in the past. And I should note that our Prime Minister is coming to Australia shortly. And we look forward to working with the associations into the future for that as well. But I will start my formal part of today, which, as I said, I wanted to acknowledge T-Hub, but I'd also like to acknowledge the status Telangana holds as a leading commercial hub, having achieved the accolade of being in the top 3 ranking of states for the ease of doing business. Congratulations. In Australia, this is a very important thing for our businesses because there's still a somewhat outdated perception of India, and it's really important that our businesses have confidence about that ease of doing business. So Telangana is also recognised within the Australian government's India Economic Strategy, which is the document government uses to choose the states and the sectors on which we work together on. And Telangana was recognised as one at being in the top group because of the potential and also, again, that word complementarity. We are not competing. We have a lovely synergy across what our sectors are. So it's within this backdrop that we meet today to discuss the progress of the economic relationship between Australia and India. Australia and India's relationship is at an historical high point, as we've just heard. In 2021, India was Australia's sixth largest two-way goods and services trading partner. And now with the signing of we call it ECTA, which is the Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, and as we've also heard, it's actually an FTA, we're expecting two-way trade to grow exponentially in the next few years. The ECTA is in fact an interim FTA. It's the first agreement India has signed with a Western nation in over 10 years and is being heralded really as a win-win for both countries. Australia is honoured that we have been able to work together with India to achieve this result. The agreement, the interim FTA, the ECTA, I'll keep calling it ECTA because that's how we speak. The ECTA entered into force on the 29th of December 2022, which means the benefits outlined for year one were claimed immediately, and the tariff reductions for year two were able to take effect on the 1st of January 2023. So basically for businesses, any of those opportunities and tariff reductions that are staggered over years, basically we got a double hit. And that showed too the determination between our two governments to get it signed before the end of the year. At a top line level, the ECTA means that 95% of Indian goods exports by value will enter into Australia duty-free, and 85% of Australia's goods exports by value will enter into India duty-free. So with the ECTA now in place, business is set to thrive both ways. And the next phase, again, as we heard, which stole some of my thunder here, the next thing is really to work towards getting a bilateral, comprehensive economic cooperation agreement. And the acronym we use for that is the CECA. So we've got the ECTA and we really want the CECA next. So hopefully more news ahead on that. It would be remiss of me not to highlight what sits behind the current strength of our relationship, and that is people-to-people relationships and trust. In June 2020, in the midst of COVID, on a virtual call, our two Prime Ministers signed a comprehensive strategic partnership. Comprehensive strategic partnerships are governmental agreements which spell out the intent of the signatories to work together for mutual benefit. And within this context, 8 MOUs were signed across key sectors, and a number of joint initiatives were also agreed to be progressed. These include across critical technology, critical minerals, health, science and agriculture. So we don't just have the ECTA, we have this depth of agreement formalised to work together in so many other ways. And the information on the specific MOUs and initiatives can quite easily be found online, so I'm not going to talk to you about that right now. But what I would like to emphasise is there's a plethora of ways that you as entrepreneurs can engage and benefit from the Australia-India relationship. As we go from strength to strength, tech is at the centre and will underpin so much of what we will do. So in the short time we have, I'd like to highlight the suite of initiatives Australia announced as part of its commitment to build our relationship, which will be of most relevance to you. Firstly, the Australia-India Innovation Network. This networking group will help Australian and Indian firms commercialise critical technologies and services, access investment, and encourage the development of deeper supply chains. Austrade is committed to the startup and scale-up ecosystem, And you can engage with this network by reaching out to Austrade and my colleagues who are here today. So we have Raman Krishna at the back of the room, Sangeeta, who's also here, and my colleague Abdul Akram. Secondly, Austrade is leading a 4-year Australia-India Future Skills Initiative. This to position Australia as a skills provider of choice for India to meet the critical and emerging labour force requirements. We are connecting Australian skills providers with industry. So if you are a tech company needing staff trained at Australia's world-class standard, again, please do contact my staff. We have many Australian providers keen to support India's young professional and workforce development, and we will ensure that those you interact with are of the highest standard and come with the badge of government behind them. Also, in fact, you might have a technology which will enable some of our providers to deliver training through a more efficient or engaging platform. So again, if you do, please reach out. Thirdly, the Australia-India Innovation and Technology Challenge will support entrepreneurs and small businesses to scale up around 20 cutting-edge Australian innovations a year. So that is also on the draw card. And I'm also proud to announce that Australia is in the process of launching a landing pad program for Australian companies in India. This will provide bespoke advice and curated business matching to high-profile Australian scale-ups looking at the Indian market entry through specific boot camps and mentoring. In turn, this provides opportunities for incubators and accelerators such as T-Hub to be involved firsthand in these market access programs, and more importantly, for us to be involved with T-Hub in these market access programs. And finally, the Australian Research Cooperation Hub, the Australia-India Strategic Research Fund, and the Maitri Scholars, Grants and Fellowship Initiatives will continue to strengthen bilateral research collaboration and provide endowments. In driving so many initiatives, we recognise that today's India is a technology powerhouse, with a young, highly skilled workforce powering innovation across multiple digital channels. But also, and just as importantly, Australia too is a formidable innovation hub, ranked at number 8 globally, and that's keeping in mind that with only a population of 26 million per capita, we rate extraordinarily well too. So we have programs, a landing pad, and our futures are intertwined, and we have so much opportunity to work together. Australia and India's growth strategy is complementary. And I'd like to close by emphasising that it is our firm belief at Austrade, which is the Australian Trade and Investment Commission, that our commercial relationship must be built on the premise of partnering for prosperity. And that's why our tagline in everything we do states that. But it's for this approach, and hence that is our approach when we look to identify Australian and Indian companies who have the potential to work together. We are ultimately looking at exactly at that, the potential to partner. We hope at least some of these opportunities will be with some of you in this room today.
We wanted to give you a case study or example of how Australia-India engagement has been going on. So I would like to welcome Australia's largest implants that got into Indian market, Collier, Mr. Vivek Somalingam, Sales Director, to give us example of how they've been in Indian market.
Cochlear implant is a proud invention of Australia. I got introduced in India way back in 1995. Company based out of Sydney, having presence across the globe, 3 major markets, Europe, Australia, APAC, and Middle East and Africa. And cochlear implant is a device which is implanted in your skull and which is connected to your inner ear, which can help you to restore your hearing if you have a profound hearing loss. We have come a long way in India, and there are still a lot of challenges. I will talk about some of the challenges. The first one is Absence of newborn hearing screening. As you all aware, a lot of babies are born deaf genetically, and these babies needs to be intervened at a very early stage, which means that before they turn 1 year, they have to get implanted. To do this, there is a small test which has to happen at the time of birth, which is called newborn hearing screening. And the next part is just by giving the implant, things won't happen. By having an implant, the children has to go through a rigorous speech therapy for at least 2 to 3 years to learn to speak, because the inputs are going to the brain and the brain has not seen this input so far in the last 3 years. Brain is not able to recognize what the child is hearing. That's the reason they are not able to speak. And that therapy is also it's a big infrastructure development that is required in India. We have been working very closely with state governments in helping them to formalize programs and training people on speech therapy. We need a lot of speech therapists. Implantation is the most easiest thing that can happen. Newborn screening, a good audiologist who can help you to do the programming, settings, and other things, and a speech therapist who can help the child and train the child for 4 or 5 years to get back to the normal level. So these challenges are there in almost all the states, and here hearing is something which we are seriously looking into it. With Austrade, we have been in talks with the health ministry of each of the state governments to help us in terms of identifying some of these issues, what areas we can partner in. So that's the story about Cochlear.